Hello, good evening. It's Monique, and this video is a little different because, well, I'm trying something new. We're just going to be having a little discussion, you and I, tonight, about a topic that I find fascinating, and I imagine that this is going to be a series, but we'll have to see how it goes. I'm just kind of experimenting. Now, I just want to say, for one thing, hope you like the setup. Took me a while. Just got this really cute gingerbread snow globe that literally spins the glitter by itself. Obsessed, gorgeous, in love. Also, I've been sick for the past week. I haven't really felt all that sick, but my nose has been acting up. So hopefully you can't really tell. Today, much better than yesterday. Yesterday I definitely sound congested, but hopefully Monique doesn't sound congested tonight. Now, before I get into this evening's topic, I have an announcement, and it's a very exciting one. It's been long awaited, and it does somewhat relate to the topic of today's video. And the announcement is that I got a job. I just got hired, just accepted an offer. It has been 5 months since I graduated from college, so this has been coming for a while, and I had the privilege of waiting until I received an offer that I was happy with before actually accepting. So otherwise I may have accepted earlier. I don't really know if I had different circumstances, but I'm just really grateful because the position that I did accept is one that I think is just a really good fit for me. The roles and responsibilities just sound really fun, sound like something that's totally up my alley. And the salary and the benefits are all things that I'm really happy with. It's also in a state that I've been interested in living in for a bit now. So I will be moving from California to Pennsylvania literally in a week. Very, very quick, but it's happening. It's happening. So just wanted to let y'all know. But anyway, today's topic is materialism. Now, I came up with this idea really this past summer because I was spending more money at one time than I have, I think, really in my whole life. And there were many reasons for that. I mean, I am starting a business, so I had some business expenses. For example, I was buying like a year's subscription to Squarespace, for a website, and there are other costs that comes with a business as well. So there were business costs, and then I also decided to take a business trip to the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo, which was in Orlando, Florida this year. And that cost me about $3,000. Cost me more than I had even saved for. But even though those were like business expenses, I don't know if we could really say like, oh, I was going wild, because I really wasn't. But I think because I was spending so much money and I'm not used to spending that much money at once, it just kind of felt icky. I kind of felt like bad about it. And I think in terms of money and spending money, that's sort of a different conversation, but it did sort of spark this idea about material things and, can we actually feel good about buying material things and enjoying them? And I will say that while preparing for this video, just kind of thinking it through and looking up some definitions, I came to realize that materialism is really different than I thought it was. So let's actually read a definition so that we can all get on the same page. All right, I brought in my laptop because I'm filming on my phone, so I can't look on my phone. But there are 3 definitions that I really like, and I can't really decide on just one. So the first one is from dictionary.com, and the definition of materialism is a preoccupation with or emphasis on material objects, comforts, and considerations with a disinterest in or rejection of spiritual, intellectual, or cultural values. So That one is really talking about how not only are you really focused on material objects, but you're also rejecting other things and other things that are valuable, but they aren't physical. Then we come over to the Cambridge Dictionary, and their definition is the belief that having money and possessions is the most important thing in life. So that's really, I mean, it is about values, but it's also sort of putting money and possessions on a pedestal and almost like making goals that like that's something that you want to have. And then the last one is from Google, and this one is specifically an adjective. It's materialistic. And the definition of this, according to Google, is to be excessively concerned with material possessions, money-oriented. And that one I really wanted to share because of the money-oriented part. I think that there is a financial component to materialism, and that's something that I'm not going to get into today, but I did just want to mention that. So now that we're on the same page, I want to get into what I really think materialism means. Based on these definitions, I would say that materialism, for one thing, is an extreme way to live. It's not balanced. Materialism is focusing on physical things, putting them on a pedestal, and valuing them above all other things in life. These definitions really change the way that I think about materialism, because I was really thinking about it in terms of people, well, basically consumerism, just buying tons of things, maybe using it once, throwing it out or donating it, which from what I know, a lot of the things that we donate actually end up in landfill, so you're basically throwing it out. And I really never considered the financial part of that or seeing it as a value. I think I almost saw it more as an addiction, and I guess maybe it can be, but I think that's something I would have to look into more. Society has definitely demonized materialism, and I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that it has made me question in the past if it's okay for me to enjoy material things. And I think the way that I really go about this in my mind is thinking, who am I really? Well, I am a soul, and my soul is separate from my physical body. So my soul is temporarily in this vessel, in my physical body, which is in a physical, material world. And so it's not only natural, but necessary to interact with material things. And of course, there is an extreme version of interacting with material things, which is materialism. But I think that for the most part, we, most people in society are totally fine. We don't really have anything to worry about with crossing that line and going sort of over the edge. I do think that it's normal and it's okay to enjoy material things in life, and this goes beyond necessities like shelter and food, which I don't even know if I would really consider food a material thing. That's not something that I think about. I think about more things that are unnecessary but just enjoyable, and I think we all have those things. It could be clothing or watches or cars, office supplies, I don't know. We all have our things that we like, and it's totally okay to enjoy those things, especially if it's in moderation, if it's in a balanced way, and if we are really not only spending time using those things and enjoying them, but also respecting them. This is a really great topic for right now because it is, I was gonna say it's December. When I'm filming this, it's actually November. Thanksgiving was yesterday, but the holidays are coming up, and that means gifts. That definitely growing up was my favorite part of the holiday. It may still actually be my favorite part, let's be honest. But I don't think that's a bad thing as long as we're not losing sight of the fact that material things are not more valuable than what the holidays are really about, which is human connection. Now, of course, we can go off the deep end, we can go extreme. By the way, can you hear the air? Of course, it came on right now. And I think a really great example of materialism is hoarding. Based on the definitions that I've read, I think that hoarding is probably like the prime example of materialism, because you are really valuing these material things over anything else. You hold on to the items and refuse to let them go, even if you're not actually using them, and you probably won't in the future. I actually think of my grandma because she literally has her first ever pair of shoes. She has just collected things over the years, things that she hasn't used in decades, things that she will probably never use again, and she refuses to let them go. There have even been board games. She's got a bunch of board games that she doesn't play, she doesn't even really like, but she refuses to get rid of them because maybe the neighborhood kids one day will come over and want to play, even though the neighborhood kids never come over to her house. And you know, I got to acknowledge the fact that she grew up during the Great Depression, and because of that, she has developed a scarcity mindset, and I don't think that that's uncommon at all. But I also have to acknowledge that that is hoarding behavior. I think hoarding is an interesting topic that I'd like to research further. But in terms of our discussion today, my thinking right now is that it is a prime example of materialism, and that's something that we don't want to strive for. But then we can kind of go the opposite way, and these were sort of it's like the group of people that I was thinking about when I was thinking about materialism, that I'm now realizing maybe the opposite. And that is people just buying a ton of things, maybe using it once, and throwing it away, getting rid of it. My mom is definitely one of those people. I mean, I wouldn't say she uses things once and then throws it away, but she's always getting rid of stuff, and she does try to donate, so you know, I gotta give her credit there. But it's still showing that she really doesn't value those material items, and I think that's very common today. If we're just buying a ton of things and then we're getting rid of them and we're not really feeling much of anything about that, we just keep going with the same behavior, we clearly don't value those items, or we would be taking care of them and keeping them for as long as they serve us. So I really think that these two extremes are things that we don't necessarily want. And even though I would say that the one extreme of, you know, going through things and throwing them away isn't materialism, it's kind of a conversation for another time about, you know, ethical consumerism, and I don't even know. As for the hoarding, I think that's materialism, and something that's really not common, especially in younger generations, but that is something to consider. Chances are you're probably not materialistic, so it's not really something you have to worry about. And as a human, we all interact with material things in our lives, and that's totally okay, that's normal, and it's actually necessary, especially if we're thinking about shelter and food and clothing and all the things that we need to survive. But also, if you enjoy buying yourself a little piece of decor, that's okay too. You can enjoy that. Now, I would love to go into ethical consumerism and sustainability, but I think that is just a huge topic. That's a big piece of meat that we don't have time to bite into today. But obviously, if we are hoarding our things, then we're probably not harming the environment per se. if we are doing that opposite of just getting rid of things, that more so is going to have an impact on the environment. But then of course there's something to be said about individual impact versus, you know, like a corporate impact. And from what I know, corporations really have more of the power there. So I don't think that we need to feel really bad about ourselves on that individual level if we think about our past actions of getting rid of something that was really in perfect condition, or at least was usable. So this really brings me to what we can do, how we can interact with material things in the best way. And I think that one of the best things that we can do is really just respecting our things, and that can be done through keeping your things clean, keeping them organized, and also just truly not only using them, but valuing, really thinking about the value that they bring and feeling gratitude for those things. Whenever I get rid of something, I will always sort of hold it and look at it and I say thank you. And I guess I kind of treat material things in a personified way, like as if they were living beings. And I think it's just an easy way for my mind to put significance on these inanimate objects. I do thank my things before I release them for everything that they've done for me and for being so useful, and just really kind of taking that moment to appreciate what I have. Maybe you do this, maybe you want to do this, but if that seems a little out there for you, that's totally okay. I think the best thing that we can do is really just take care of our things and use them. If you do want to get rid of something, or maybe I should say when, because at some point we all release things. Obviously, if something is in like really bad condition, it's not even functional anymore, then just toss it in the trash. But if it's in good enough condition, there are many things that you can do with it. I think the best thing is to find another use for it, maybe do a little DIY, alter it a little bit, and then find a way that it can work for you. And then the next best option would be to sell it to someone. And the reason why I say sell isn't necessarily to make profit, but I think that when people buy things, they value them more than if they just get it for free. And also, if somebody buys something, you know that they really wanted it, so that item is going to go to someone who's actually going to value and use it, rather than just picking it up because it was free and then they don't really care about it, they don't really use it, and then maybe they throw it out. And then probably the last option that I would go with, if none of those other ones work, would be to donate it. And donating is obviously great because people that maybe can't afford to buy an item like that full priced, can't afford it, they could still get a loving home. I just put it at the bottom of the list because, as I mentioned before, from what I know, most of the things that get donated actually go to landfill, because so many things get donated that they just don't have room for it in all of those stores. I would still donate something if none of the options worked out. So if that's the option that works for you, then I think absolutely that's great, go with that. And feel free to feel good about that. You're really doing your part by choosing the best option for you and the situation and the circumstances of that item. Respecting your things is also getting rid of them in a sustainable way, or maybe I should say releasing them in a sustainable way. Doesn't that sound so much better? This is really something that I value and I try to practice in my daily life, and I think that these are things that my parents instilled in me, but also just things that I sort of did on my own. So now we're here, and in literally a week, I am going to Pennsylvania and I'm going to move into my new apartment. And then I'm going to begin ordering things for my apartment. And that's also going to be a lot of money all at once that I'm spending. And once again, I'm not going into money in this video. but those are a lot of material things that I am purchasing that are going to arrive. I'm going to need to furnish my apartment and get kitchenware so that I can cook food for myself and store food and bring it with me to work for lunches. And I think that this is something that, because of what happened earlier this summer where I spent a lot of money on my business and on the trip, I was sort of a little nervous. How am I going to feel when I buy all this stuff all at once? Am I going to feel bad, like I'm not really using my money wisely, or that I'm really materialistic? And I think that now I'm realizing that that's really not materialism. Those are things that I need, and it's okay for me to buy them. And even if there are some things that I'm buying that I don't necessarily need, like, do I need throw pillows? Maybe not. But if that's something that I can afford and that I choose to spend my money on, then it's totally okay for me to enjoy those things, because at the end of the day, I am in a physical body, living in a physical material world, and I think enjoying materialistic things is just part of the human experience. So with that said, that's it for today's topic. I hope you enjoyed the discussion all about materialism, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening.